In this video, we're going to find the derivative of a function by using the definition of a limit. In particular, they want us to find the derivative of the function when we're putting in -1. So the first part is I've got to figure out what is -1. So I put -1 in to my function, so 4 times -1 plus 4 divided by -1, which gives me -8. Now I'll need that information when I use the definition of derivative. The first part of the question is asking me is using the definition of derivative, f prime of -1, the limit as x approaches, and because I am approaching -1, that's what I'm using -1 in my derivative, so that's what I approach as x approaches -1. Now, the second part right here is asking us to use the definition of the derivative. So that is the limit as x approaches a of f of x minus f of a all over x minus a. Since we know that a is -1, that's the value that we are approaching. This is the limit as x approaches a of our function, which is 4x plus 4 over x. 4x, and I wrote the wrong thing. 4x plus 4 over x minus, in this case it's -8 because that is f of a. This value right here is f of a, which for us is f of -1, which comes from right here. And that is an 8. Get a little bit better of an 8. So that is an 8. In my denominator, it is x minus -1. And right here, I should be using also -1. So this should be, here should be -1. All right. So this is equal to the limit as x approaches -1 of 4x plus 4 over x plus 8 over x plus 1. My numerator has a complex fraction right here, so I need to get rid of that complex fraction. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by my lowest common denominator, which happens to be x. So this is equal to the limit as x approaches -1 of 4x squared plus 4 plus 8x over x multiplied by x plus 1. I'm going to factor the numerator because right now I cannot do a direct substitution because I'll have 0 in the denominator if I were to put in -1. So I'm going to factor out first a 4 and reorder, so it's x squared plus 2x plus 1 over x plus 1. My numerator is 4 times a perfect square trinomial, so it's the limit as x approaches -1 of 4 x plus 1 squared all over x plus 1. In this case, my x plus 1 will cancel with 1 in the numerator, leaving me the limit as x approaches -1 of 4 x plus 1 over x. Now I can go ahead and do a direct substitution, and so I have 4 times -1 plus 1 all over -1. So my answer is 0 when it's been simplified. That value is going to go here. The value that needs to go in this part of the question is this part right here. So let me highlight that in, let's highlight that in green. This needs to go right there. So what I would type in is I type in a parentheses. So I type in a parentheses 4x plus 4 divided by x plus 8 parentheses division parentheses x plus 1. That's what I type in there. The value is there, 0. Now, when we're finding the limit at a particular point, in this case we're finding the limit as x approaches 1, this value when we're finding the limit, this is the slope of the tangent line of the function at the x value, x equals -1. So that's the slope. So we know that the equation of a line in slope-intercept form is y is equal to m x plus b. Well, my m here happens to be 0. So y is equal to 0 x plus b. Now I still need to find out what b is, and the way I do that is I know the ordered pair. The ordered pair was I put in -1, and if you recall from up here, -8 came out. So -8 is my y value. So I put in -1 and -8 come out. I also have this equation, the point slope. So y is equal to m x minus x1 plus y1. Well, because the slope is 0, it doesn't matter what I put in for x. It is just going to be x is going to be 0. So y is equal to 0 plus -8. So my equation right here is y is equal to 0x times x plus, as we know, again from over here, is a -8. So plus -8 or just -8, and that's what I'm going to put in this box.